Why don't vegans care about human rights? Why aren't we trying to solve human injustices before we focus on animals? This is a common criticism that's given to vegans to try and justify people not going vegan. But firstly, let's just consider that being vegan doesn't require anything from you. It's a passive action. It's merely eating something that doesn't come from an animal. So you can be vegan and an ardent humanitarian. You can go and fight human injustice and be vegan. The two aren't mutually exclusive. And one of the main problems of trying to rank which injustice should be solved first is that we achieve nothing. Because if you say we should be solving homelessness, someone could turn around and say, yeah, but what about the civil war in Syria or the conflict in the Middle East? The problem is when we try and rank injustices to see which needs solving first, we achieve absolutely nothing because we're too busy debating which injustice we should focus on. You can be vegan and focus on anything else. But being vegan is just as much a human rights issue as it is an animal rights, an environmental rights, or even a health issue. Human rights form an intrinsic part of being vegan. We need only consider right at the beginning that we're currently growing enough food to feed between 10 and 12 billion people. Yet in a world of not even yet 7.5 billion people, over 800 million of us are living in a state of starvation. This is because the food that we grow, we feed to livestock animals instead. We feed 56 billion land animals every year grain that we grow that could be fed to humans. 82% of starving children live in countries where food is grown to feed livestock animals. So we're taking food from starving women, children and men because we want to feed livestock animals so we can eat their flesh and their secretions. In fact, the grain that is used to feed American livestock alone could eradicate world hunger and feed 800 million hungry mouths. So that's just one of the first issues surrounding human rights and veganism, but there are many, many more. There's the issue of prawn slavery in Thailand and Southeast Asia. People are kidnapped, forced onto shrimp and fishing boats where they spend their entire lives with the threat of being killed if they stop trying to work or they try to escape. There's the issue of slaughterhouse workers who have some of the highest rates of PTSD, depression, anxiety, drug and alcohol abuse, and even suicide in any profession. This is because they spend day after day after day slaughtering living beings. That has a huge psychological and mental toll on someone, and they have to repress that emotion, which causes them to have a whole host of mental and psychological problems. There's issues with Amazonian tribal people who are displaced in the Amazon when we clear massive amounts of land to form areas for cattle grazing and for crop production. There's also the exploitation of leather tannery workers in Bangladesh, where 95% of people who work in tanneries die before the age of 50 because of the toxic chemicals used to process leather. And these chemicals get into the water supplies, into the rivers, into the streams, which float into nearby communities and poison the people in nearby surrounding areas as well. You see, there are so many problems to do with human rights and our exploitation of animals. The two are entirely interlinked. Let's also just touch on the fact that eating animal products causes a whole host of health problems. Things like heart disease, certain forms of cancer, strokes, hypertension, Alzheimer's. All of these illnesses can be somewhat attributed to our consumption of animal products, and we are wasting billions, trillions of pounds and dollars fueling medications and operations we wouldn't need to give to people if they simply didn't eat animal products. We're bankrupting our healthcare systems because we're wasting money trying to find cures and medications to solve problems that people shouldn't have if they merely ate what their body was designed to eat. So the excuse, but shouldn't we be focusing on human rights, is not a valid justification to not go vegan, because if you care about humans, you care about the future of our species, you have to go vegan.